Given the current climate, with many Star Wars fans expressing frustration over the Acolyte, its cancellation after just one season, and Disney's handling of the franchise under Kathleen Kennedy, now seems like the perfect time to spoof Star Wars once again. Recently, Amazon MGM greenlit a sequel to the classic sci-fi comedy. A Spaceballs sequel could strike just the right chord with fans disillusioned by the latest Star Wars offerings. But what exactly are these grievances? The Acolyte is set during the High Republic era, a period that predates the Skywalker saga by several centuries. This new timeline has left some fans skeptical, as they feel it strays too far from the core elements of Star Wars that they hold dear. The Skywalker family, the Empire, and the Rebel Alliance are iconic aspects of the franchise that have defined it for generations. Fans worry that without these familiar themes and characters, the Acolyte may lack the essence that has made Star Wars so beloved. Since Disney acquired Lucasfilm, reactions to their handling of the Star Wars franchise have been mixed. The sequel trilogy, particularly The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, divided fans. While some appreciated the new content, others felt it strayed too far from George Lucas's original vision. The worry is that the franchise might continue to lose its distinct identity under Disney's stewardship. As far as Spaceballs, nostalgia will likely play a significant role in the sequel's success. While it would be fantastic to see some of the original cast return, we must acknowledge that Joan Rivers, who voiced Dot Matrix, a parody of C-3PO, and John Candy, who played Barf, a parody of Chewbacca, are no longer with us. Rest in peace to them both. They played pivotal roles in the original film. However, Rick Moranis, who portrayed Dark Helmet, a parody of Darth Vader, is still active in the industry and could reprise his role. And then there's Mel Brooks. At the age of 98, Brooks has signed on to produce this sequel. Although he won't be directing as he did for the original, there's hope that he might reprise his role as Yogurt, which is a parody of Yoda. When Mel Brooks directed Spaceballs, he brought a fresh comedic voice to the sci-fi genre. Spaceballs is often credited with cementing the spoof film's place in popular culture. But it's essential to remember that the spoof genre has a much longer history. For instance, the first major spoof movie is generally considered to be The Little Train Robbery by Edwin S. Porter. It's a parody of Porter's earlier film, The Great Train Robbery. Since then, the subgenre has evolved, with directors like Mel Brooks and Keenen Ivory Wayans, who, with his brothers, popularized spoof movies for a new generation in the 1990s with Scary Movie. The lane for a good sci-fi comedy is wide open today. The genre was once incredibly popular, with films like Short Circuit, Weird Science, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Back to the Future, and Starship Troopers dominating the box office and becoming cultural staples. However, in recent years, the sci-fi comedy genre has struggled to find its footing. For instance, while Hot Tub Time Machine and Paul had their moments, they didn't quite capture the sustained popularity that earlier films did. Interestingly, recent IMDb data shows that when people think of sci-fi comedy in the 2020s, they often cite Marvel movies like Deadpool and Guardians of the Galaxy. But should these really be considered sci-fi comedies? Marvel films certainly incorporate elements of science fiction and comedy, but they often don't fit neatly into the traditional sci-fi comedy subgenre. According to IMDb, the top sci-fi comedy movies of the 2020s include Poor Things, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Don't Look Up. Poor Things, a surreal dark comedy directed by Yorgos Lanthimos, has been praised for its originality and unique narrative style. Everything Everywhere All at Once, directed by Daniels, masterfully blends sci-fi with humor in a way that resonates with audiences. Don't Look Up, a satirical take on the climate crisis, uses comedy to address serious issues, much like Spaceballs did with its parody of Star Wars. However, if these films are considered the best representation of the sci-fi comedy genre in the 2020s, is this really a strong showing for the genre? The fact that animated films like The Mitchells vs. the Machines are often included in these discussions despite not fitting the traditional live-action mold indicates a possible lack of strong contenders in the sci-fi comedy space. So, can a Spaceballs sequel truly revive the sci-fi comedy genre? It's certainly possible. The genre is ripe for a comeback, especially with a film that can balance nostalgia with sharp, relevant humor. With the right script, cast, and creative direction, this sequel could not only honor the legacy of the original, but also breathe new life into sci-fi comedy, a genre that once thrived but has struggled to maintain its presence in the modern cinematic landscape. The success of a Spaceballs sequel will hinge on its ability to resonate with both longtime fans and new audiences. If it can capture the spirit of the original while addressing contemporary issues with the same irreverence that made the first film a classic, it might just spark a resurgence in the sci-fi comedy genre. Only time will tell if the sequel can live up to its potential. But one thing is clear, as a fan of sci-fi, I'm concerned about these movies.